So, you ever notice that every time Kawaki gets a lot stronger, he somehow ends up with even less freedom? At this point, Amado isn't building a cyborg anymore. He's building the world's angriest Bluetooth speaker that only works when he presses connect, or he's building the world's angriest Wi-Fi, and the password for the Wi-Fi is Naruto loves ramen 99. And somehow people are celebrating Kawaki's new power-up without asking the one question that actually matters. What if this power-up is the first step towards creating the purple scarf Kawaki that destroys the Hidden Leaf Village? Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, takes a look at the reason why purple scarf Kawaki might finally be upon us. So everyone break out those ramen bowls. Also, the newest round of Patreon exclusive videos are up on the channel right now, from the strongest ninja to never become Jonin to Damon's reflection jutsu explained to every category of scientific ninja tech explained to the two mega in-depth videos on how strong every version of Tsunade is and how strong every version of Minato is, and the video breaking down the first great ninja war in a way that has not been approached here on YouTube yet. History buffs will definitely love that video. Big shouts out to the patrons who help pay for those videos with their pledges, and for the next handful of videos that are coming out of the Patreon exclusive paywall, those will be debuting here on YouTube as we move closer into the summer. One thing that I've learned from following Ikemoto's works over the years is that he rarely changes a character's appearance just because it looks cool. Most manga artists absolutely do redesigns because they want something fresh, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you do it like how Oda does in One Piece, where he changes the outfit designs, and then sometimes in that same manga he changes it to better reflect the island that they're on. It's one of the reasons why I love Kubo from Bleach so much, because when it comes to the covers and the extra designs on those, the man cooks up a meal, does the same thing with his overall character designs. Ikemoto definitely likes the stylish characters, which again makes a lot more sense given when you realize when Naruto's actually set in accordance to real life timeline, and that we're 22 years removed in universe from Naruto Part 1. Video on that will be coming up relatively soon, but there's usually another layer underneath it. The clothing is part of the story. The hairstyle is part of the story. The accessories become part of the story. He's taken a page out of the books of some of my favorite mangaka by taking this approach. It was something that I suspected in part 1 when we saw his original designs for characters that Kishimoto didn't create, but with the redesigns for Two Blue Vortex, I became convinced, and then a year after that, after we saw Sarada's redesign, he basically confirmed it. Clothing isn't just clothing, it's an extension of the storytelling. Once you understand that pattern, it really becomes very hard to ignore. Take Boruto for instance. His clothes didn't just randomly become darker after the time skip. He didn't just become some random emo edgelord. The people on Reddit, Facebook, and Twitter and TikTok that say that don't know what the hell they're talking about. Yes, they're a reflection of Sasuke, the sword, the cape, the overall aesthetic, the vibes, whatever words you want to use to describe it. Boruto's literally carrying pieces of the man that trained him. His sword is literally Sasuke's sword. He's honoring someone that he believed that he had lost, that he's responsible for his loss. It's not really a bad thing when you think about it, given he idolized Sasuke during what are probably his most impressionable years, and during a time when he was trying to find himself amidst a lot of trauma. Boruto, in that time period that part 1 took place, there was a lot that happened. Sasuke basically imprinted himself onto Boruto, and Boruto is trying to mimic the person that he wants to become. It's something I personally can relate to, and I know some of you guys probably can as well. Say, for instance, if you catch me in real life, particularly outside the gym, since in the gym, I'm going to be wearing a tank top or shorts or a giant shirt or a wrestling t-shirt and some sweats, depending on the time of the year. You might catch me in a sleeveless hoodie, but if you catch me in real life out and about, you're likely going to see contrasted collar shirts, polos, leather jackets, or overcoats slim fit tailored clothing because I picked up a lot of my style from one of my mentors. If you go back to the early 2010s, if you knew me back then, it was more vintage clothing, flannel shirts, cardigans, beanies, scarves, thick rimmed glasses, even though I didn't need glasses. I throw that out because it shows how in so short of a time period, in only a few years, you can change your presentation, especially when you are finding yourself, which is what happened with Boruto. Yeah, he wore a jacket before, but the whole vibe has changed as he spent that next year with Sasuke. Now, when you look at Sarada, she's an example of what happens when you not only go for a more drastic change, but also a more confident one. Boruto was giving off the Sasuke vibes to a degree, but Sarada went through trauma and her whole style changed, and ironically, her vibe became one where she feels more confident than she appeared to be in part 1. Ikemoto outright explained that her Two Blue Vortex design, her redesign, reflects both Boruto and Sasuke. It's her way of showing loyalty to them, even though the rest of the world believes that Boruto murdered Naruto and Sasuke helped him escape. It's her way of showing loyalty, even though the world thinks that her father turned rogue again. It's something I pointed out when the design debuted. The colors, the Uchiha crest earrings, the Haruno symbol on the choker, even the way her hair was cut, it all told a story. That's visual storytelling done by Ikemoto, and to his credit, it's the same thing with all the metal pieces on Boruto's clothing. And that also means that when Studio Pierrot gets the anime back, it's going to be very hard to strip down the details and simplify them to save time on animation, because when it comes to the designs, all that stuff serves a role. It is functional, which before someone asked me for an anime update, because anytime I mention anime, somebody asks, use the search bar on my channel, use the search bar on the YouTube app, type in Naruto Explained Boruto Two Blue Vortex anime update, and look for the video that was uploaded about 5 or 6 months ago. Every question you could possibly have is answered right there. Not going to be weighing in on the anime here. It's irrelevant to this part of the video. The beauty of all these designs is nobody had to stop the manga so a character could explain it. You just see it. If you paid attention to what you were looking at, you had a deeper appreciation for it. Then you got Kawaki. His clothing tells an entirely different story, especially when we go into what Ikemoto himself said about his style. Ada buys his clothes, not Kawaki, because Kawaki genuinely doesn't care. His self-worth is so low that his appearance barely matters to him. Like, Kawaki is that guy who, he doesn't shave or cut his hair. He just wakes up and says, whatever, I got things to do. It's when someone nags him that he finally caves in. I wouldn't be surprised if Ikemoto said that Ada was cutting Kawaki's hair. Not saying that to call him a bum, don't take it that way, but I am saying his lack of care about his appearance is something we know is part of his character due to his own lack of belief in his own self-worth, according to the author and his actions. How many times has he dropped one of those ominous lines about going away when all the threats to Naruto could be harmed and removed? He literally said he was preparing himself for Naruto to kill him when he unseals him, because he was going to kill Boruto, which we know Naruto won't do, but mentally Kawaki has that in his mind. He doesn't see the beauty of his own life, because for so much of his life, he was led to believe he was nothing more than a tool. His father beat him if he didn't get enough for him to drink, and he eventually sold him off. His next adopted father beat him and called him training. Amado experimented on his body. Technically, his whole body is ninja tech on a cellular level because Kawaki's a cyborg. Kawaki had a massive chunk of his humanity robbed from him, and most importantly, his own agency was taken from him. Life has consistently viewed him as a tool, and tools don't need clothing. They just need to be cared for well enough to kill whatever their target is. Look at every major arc since he entered the story. His jackets have become more damaged. His shirts become more torn, especially once he got away from Naruto and Hinata because they were sealed away. His sleeves got ripped apart. His bottoms are getting more ripped. The same with the edges on his jacket. It's a contrast to what we saw in Boruto, who in early part 1 of the story, the guy would literally dust off any dirt on his clothing. The stronger Kawaki becomes, the more broken his appearance starts to become. just like he himself is broken on the inside. And the two blonde-haired men with 3 eyes between them, one a 36-year-old man and the other a 15-year-old young man, they can put the pieces together for him if he lets them. It's almost like he in a situation where his outside is slowly catching up to what exists inside of Kawaki. He may have fixed that vase and accepted the imperfections of the vase where all the prior cracks were on display. You knew that vase had been through some shit. But the vase that is known as Kawaki has fully refused to accept that he has his own cracks. Him seeking out more power is a byproduct of that. It's why the newest development in the story caught my attention immediately. Not because of the power boosts, but because of where Amado placed those frogs. On Kawaki's body, close to the neck. That's why I mentioned, hey, I used to wear scarves back in the day. Close enough that Kawaki can shrink them down until they're barely an inch. Now ask yourself this question here. Why would Ikemoto introduce tiny surveillance devices that sit around Kawaki's neck? I think that this is deliberate. I think that we're transitioning towards Kawaki using purple scarf Kawaki with that massive scarf around that exact area. Let's remember something. Boruto as a story has already established visual language. And in particular, the use of toads in this way has been established too. Remember Kashin Koji's little toad that he has? Boruto hid it inside of his collar. Why? Because it stayed close enough for Koji to communicate with Boruto. That wasn't random. It had a purpose. It was concealing something important. Kawaki was like, who is Boruto talking to? He didn't know. He couldn't see the toad. Now when you fast forward, Kawaki also has these miniature frogs that are on the exact same part of his body. Frogs created by Amado. It's a contrast. The two Karma Bros are walking similar paths. It's actually brilliant when you look at it from that perspective. With Amado's frogs, though, they're capable of dramatically increasing or decreasing Kawaki's offensive and defensive power, however he feels. The older version of Kawaki, eventually having that scarf around that area, there's something there. And it just shows further contrast. Boruto hit the toad because he was hiding communication. Kawaki's doing it because he's hiding control. That is such a fascinating parallel when you view that, because these two characters have been a mirror of each other ever since they were introduced in chapter 1 of the story. Boruto carries symbols of trust, especially on his body and his current design. Kawaki increasingly carries symbols of dependence, in particular when it comes to the power-ups. That dependence has always been one of Kawaki's greatest weaknesses. Think back to where his story really began to take a turn. Kawaki wasn't born believing strength came from inside of himself. He was in a situation where his entire childhood taught him the opposite. His father abused him, Jigen purchased him, abused him, Kara experimented on him. Every source of strength that Kawaki mostly received came from another person's authority. Jigen gave him power via Ishiki's Karma Seal. Amado remade his body via Ninja Tech. Jigen also owned him, and then Naruto entered his life. For the first time, someone offered love without demanding ownership. Kawaki couldn't handle it. Naruto didn't want Kawaki because he was useful. Naruto wanted Kawaki because he's like, hey, I'm the Hokage. Everybody in the village are family. You're my family, dude. And I see a little bit of myself in you. That completely changed Kawaki's world. Unfortunately, it didn't completely heal him. He was changing to his defense, but that trauma of seeing Ishiki almost kill Naruto, that trauma of seeing Jigen leave Naruto in the hospital for 2 days, that trauma of Momoshiki almost killing Naruto, that was enough to change Kawaki back to what he should have never become. With Kawaki, the answer has always been getting stronger. And now there's a different man standing where Jigen used to, Amado. Unlike Naruto, Amado always wants something in return. Every deal that he's made, nothing came free. information, technology, Akibi, even Kawaki getting those frogs, there was always a price to pay. Does that sound familiar? It should. That's how Jigen basically controlled Kawaki. You have the Karma Seal, I'm going to train you how to use it, you're going to become a weapon. The crazy part is that Kawaki's agreeing to it. And the bad part is that Amado has been pulling the strings this whole thing. Amado re-implanted the Karma Seal on the Kawaki, but Kawaki was the one that reawakened it. Amado has access to Ishiki's full power form. Kawaki's the one that demanded it. Now you could argue that Amado was pushing Kawaki into that direction. You would be right. But like I said in a video a few days ago, Naruto would get people to the door and open the door for them, but they still had to walk through it themselves. In Kawaki's mind, he's making these decisions because protecting Naruto matters more than protecting himself. That makes perfect sense psychologically, and that's also exactly how manipulation works. You don't convince someone to surrender their freedom. You convince them that their freedom is less important than the very thing that they love. That's what makes Amado so dangerous. He doesn't need to threaten Kawaki. He just needs to point towards Naruto. Every road leads back there, which brings us back to that scarf, because I don't think that it's simply there because Future Kawaki looks cooler wearing one. I think that he's hiding something, literally. I think that that toad is still on his neck, and it just gives you better contrast. Again, Boruto's hiding a ally in Kashin Koji there. Kawaki has that toad on his neck. That's basically a leash. That's a very ironic image. Potentially the strongest man in the village is still wearing a collar, being choked on by Amado. He just calls it a scarf. I really feel like this destination for Kawaki's character is becoming a lot easier for us to imagine, because eventually Kawaki, it's not hard for us to come up with a scenario where he convinces himself that giving up his freedom is worth protecting Naruto. First it's give up this bit of freedom, then it's give up that bit of freedom. Then one day there's almost nothing left of the boy that Naruto once welcomed into his home. The only thing left for Kawaki is the weapon. That's part of the journey of him eventually getting redeemed. He has to be guided from viewing himself as a tool, as a weapon, to viewing himself as a human being. That's where Ada comes into play. That's where Kawaki comes into play. That's where Naruto comes into play. We have to see these differing philosophies, these differing forms of love, because Kawaki right now is still stuck on a path of dependency. He can't hit freedom until he clears certain checkpoint. And I think that the use of those toads is very brilliant. Think about every major villain and event in Boruto. Momoshiki wanted to overwrite Boruto's identity. Ishiki wanted to overwrite Kawaki's identity. Both of them had the Karma Seal. Even Omnipotence rewrote the identities of Boruto and Kawaki in the eyes of the world. Identity has quietly become one of the themes of this story when it comes to Boruto and Kawaki. Who are you? Who decides who you are? Who gets control over your future? Those are questions that keep popping up over and over again when you reread the story. That's why Amado's newest invention feels so dangerous, because unlike the Karma Seal, these frogs, they don't need to be used to overwrite DNA or anything like that. They're not like Omnipotence where they erase and overwrite memories. Instead, they're directly correlated with power. It's conditioning Kawaki to believe, I need Amado to win. I need his technology to win. It's showing that he has forgotten the very things that Naruto tried to teach him. That's why that purple scarf Kawaki is something that we really need to see. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Click here on the left to check out this Naruto Explained video, or click here on the right to check out this video that YouTube says you would probably enjoy.